Dunk.
How we doing, guys, gals, and non-binary pals? Info here with another memes build video. Now, as you may or may not know from watching my channel, if you do, I like to make vengeance characters that aren't paladins. So, plenty of them done before in the past, but I haven't done a Zon. So I figured, alright, let's break out the Zon. Also, I really wanted to break out the new rune word. So, this isn't the most efficient, use of a vengeance character in the sense that their damage becomes, not only utilized from charms, but very much from gear slots with that added elemental damage. So I am sacrificing a little bit in places, for things that could be a bit safer, damage reduction gear and magic damage reduction gear, etc. But I really like this. It's a lot of fun. Again, emphasis on the fun. To the CMD tech guy that keeps commenting on my videos about how crap they are, it's fun. It's not a one-hit kill. How many times do I have to say this to you? No, he's going to comment again on this one, I know for sure. But I digress. So, Vengeance. Let's start off with gear. So you have to have Kingslayer. So you get the plus 10 to Vengeance. So this one rolled not brilliantly on the ED, but again, because it's a phase blade, for speed factor, you're not getting much physical damage there anyway. So you're relying a lot on potions because you don't really leech. And because of the gear choices, there isn't a lot of mana per kill and life per kill and things. So again, nothing a little full rejuvenation potion won't fix. But yeah, it's got great stats, loads of cold damage and bits and pieces there. And obviously, as I said before, it's very, very fast. Now, I'd have loved to put this in a cryptic sword for the whole sword and board look, with the whole dark look as well. With the gear, it looks really cool. But sadly, I couldn't find an F 15% superior, 4-socketed cryptic sword. So I just slapped it in a phase blade. But what that does mean is it takes care of your frames because it's fast. You don't have to get increased attack speed anywhere else on your gear. And as usual, my gear is janky. I just threw it together, so don't expect miracles here. So, Steel Shade. Now you're probably thinking, why this, Dean? Because could use Shaco for the life. This one slammed attack rating, and as you know, I'm an attack rating whore because you need to be able to hit in order to do the damage. Now I was using this, and I briefly moved on to Akira's because again, great reasons. All resistances, enemy resistances down. It's all good stuff. However, I went with Steel Shade, and unfortunately, I did P-box this and got one socket. Oh, it's a disaster. Why would you P-box such a rubbish slam? I'm like, because every Steel Shade I had is bricked. But again, you'll have Steel Shade with a +1 to skills slam, 2 sockets, with anything you like in them. So I would recommend resistances, because there isn't any on the build. You don't necessarily need them because of energy shield, but we'll get to that. But anyway, Steel Shade. 2 skills to help with your Valks. These are your distractions and tanks to help funnel the enemies. So then you can hit, because you're fairly squishy, as usual. If you wanted to build this and be a bit more of a tank, I wouldn't suggest a new rune word unless you go all-out mana type stuff, which I have not done. I would put a Spirit Ward here, 3-socket Spirit Ward, full of really get the old lesser fade going on and Amazon skills and things. But like I said, I just really wanted to play with this new rune word. It's fantastic, but we'll get to that. So, Steel Shade. When you are an Amazon, sword and board, board and whatever necessarily, your blocking frames go to hell. They are terrible. They are arguably worse than a druid in werebear form. Hand on heart, I will say that. So, this is useful because the 2 skills keeps your Valks up because you want 3. And it also helps with the increased chance of blocking and faster block rate. Blocking's 75% chance of nothing happening to you. Really useful stuff. And as I said, you block atrociously slow. So bear with that. It's very bad. Still a good helmet. So my amulet, so more blocking, even though you block slow and terribly, might as well, if you're going to get into it, do it. So it's attack rating, Amazon skills. I mean, again, I know you guys can get way better than this. I would recommend something like this though for the attack rating, so you hit. Fast hit recovery is always useful to get them breakpoints up. I'm not at the breakpoint I was with Kira's, which was the 86. We'll get to that though. So yeah, 107 to mana because you're using energy shield, so big mana there, yay. But yeah, just slap on skills, resistance, all that kind of good stuff here, but this isn't a bad choice. So, on to the new one. We can't see properly because of my big melon head, so I'll just shove it here. Now, the 25% chance to cast level 27 static field when struck is hilarious because it's great. It helps with vengeance, you know, brings enemies' life down, brings their lightning resistance down, means you do more damage. Don't rely on it, because obviously you're trying not to get hit. You're a hit and run tactician. You know, scouting between your decoys and your Valks, and then once you get yourself in a decent position, slap, slap, slap. Good damage. But yeah, so you get the faster cast rate, which, as we know, Amazon's is rubbish, so it helps get the decoys out quicker. A huge 750 lightning damage. That's one of the reasons I picked this, because not only is it new for Season 11, but it gives you huge damage bonus towards your vengeance. Like, really insane. Huge max mana, all that good stuff. So, yeah, very good. My only problem is I can't put it back on now, so... Quick sneaky sneaky. There we go. Because I was relying on the attributes from Shaco there, so yeah, oops. Silkweaves. And now the reason I got these is mana for after each kill, which is your life pool, essentially, and increasing your max mana. Now here I would probably have Merman Sprocket, because it's the max damage for a boot slot for Elemental, be it cold. I don't specialise when it comes to Vengeance. Some people go all in on fire, all in on cold, all in on lightning. Because it does all three, I like to spread it around all three. So yeah, here we go. We have Silkweaves for the life and safety aspect. Ravenfrost for the cannot be frozen, of course, but also the attack rating and dexterity helps you to get the hits in with Vengeance, which is good because obviously Vengeance is an O skill, so you don't get to max it out. And obviously as many plus skills as POS helps, but this helps with the attack rating, but also adds 15 to 45 cold damage, is good for Vengeance. So I'd recommend a Ravenfrost, even if, for example, when I was using Kira's, I had cannot be frozen. I wouldn't take that off because it's very useful. Very useful for a Vengeance bit. Thunder Gods for the strength and vitality to put on the gear, or strength, vitality stuff. Also the big lightning damage boost you get from it. I prefer Hoenn Splendor because it's a bigger lightning damage boost, but I needed strength because I needed to put something in mana for the energy shield. This ring is attack rating and mana for the life pool, essentially. Some all rares, even though energy shield doesn't really need it, but I'm afraid of it running out, so as much mana as POS, you know, so it doesn't. And also, it even has a bit of lightning damage on it, which all helps towards Vengeance. And then Frostburn, an unorthodox choice here, but because of the energy shield, it works really well with this build. I mean, obviously you get the fire and cold damage added to Vengeance, which is great. You get some reduced on your enemies, which is great. A huge increased max mana, which is your life pool. And then the slam couldn't be better because it's mana after each kill, which is helping you replenish your mana pool, which is your life pool to stay alive. Lastly, I went with Guardian Angel because, again, blocking. It's horrendous, like I said, the block stuff going on. So we've got 30% faster block rate, 20% faster block rate, and that puts us at a reasonable breakpoint. The 3 sockets help with putting the poison res in because energy shield obviously protects you from fire, lightning, and cold essentially, but not really. But it doesn't do anything about poison, so slapping a bunch of poison res in there really helps, and a bit of extra 38 to mana from a sapphire is your life pool, essentially. I did have this going on before, which had physical damage reduction and some resistances and stuff, mana per kill. It was very, very good, but this for the block rate, especially for that. I mean, you can get by with things like this. It's a very cool piece. Right, so that's the gear. So we'll move on to charms. So you want as many kick-ass vengeance type charms. I mean, obviously the damage is a bit low on this one, but it's life. So yeah, they're sort of... I mean, that one's pretty high damage, but life gets lower. And then crazy, crazy, crazy damage on these. Some faster hit recovery to make breakpoints. Again, now that I've moved some gear around, I could pull out some fast hit recovery for more damage because I'm not at 86 anymore. But yeah, some really big Like, that one's pretty nice. No second mod, sadly. Well, sorry, no, it is a second mod. It's Lightning, that one. But yeah, all kinds of good stuff. And then obviously a Torch, and an Annie, and then sadly my 2 passive skillers to bring me up to having level 30 Valks, so I can have 3 of them, are plain, but it's me. I always go with jank gear. Moving on to the Mercenary. So we have an Act 4 Light Mercenary, so that the healing from his Holy Bolts, if you stand in front of him while wailing on enemies, he can heal you. And he heals your Valks, and he's just very, very useful. But more importantly, I have a staff here with lower res on casting. That really helps with Vengeance, of course. And then after that, it's just skills, gear, and Darials. You can have the Shaco on. Atmas to give him some beefy defense. Trangs for faster cast rate belt with strength, so he can put Atmas on. Huge life and tri-res is quite nice for a Mercenary. And then some Marrow Walks for cannot be frozen. But yeah, he's pretty stocky. He takes care of himself. He doesn't die very often. The Valks shield him and the decoys distract away from him. So he's just there to provide lower resist and a bit of healing and some magic damage. So onto the skills. So passive tree is pretty much a passive Zon, because after Vengeance, what else are you going to do? So we've got some pretty beefy Valks. Like I say, level 30. They're not massively crazy tanks, but they do the job. And you can have 3 of them. They got a decent life pool at nearly 3,000. We've maxed out Penetrate, so we can get the attack rating bonus most especially. But the physical pierce is nice, but on this build it's obviously not. You don't do a lot of physical damage, so it's not brilliant. But the attack rating is enough crit strike to get up to ignore diminishing returns, and then I'll start investing into some evade and dodge and things. But the plus skills are carrying me up on that one pretty well. Inner Sight, I'm pumping points into for the reason that it brings down enemy attack rating, so they don't hit you as well, but also enemy defense. I know that's fixed, but that minus 1,515 is actually fairly stocky, and it means that, again, you get the hits in. Much AR as you can, as much lowering defense stuff and all kinds, just so you get the hits. I say you're quite squishy, but as long as you hit first, and hit fast and hard, it's not a problem. So I always spam a bit of Inner Sight and slow movement going on. Like I said, max that out, max that out, max that out. Decoys I'm maxing out as a synergy to Valks because it increases their damage, but they're also quite tanky and do the physical damage aspect of things as well. They're very useful to have knocking around. So nothing in the jab tree, nothing in the bow and crossbow tree. It's just pure pumping out that passive and magic. So breakpoints and stats and things. So as you can see, Dino Likey. As we all know, I'm a massive resistance whore, so having that scares the life out of me. It was a little bit nicer with that, at least they're in the positives, but you are relying on your energy shield to protect you scenario. So pumping these constantly is good, and whenever something a bit too scary hits you, you can pop a juve, reposition, because you do run around fairly fast, faster run walk, 30, plus, the velocity bonus and things. It's all good stuff. Yeah, so we got 4 flat fire absorb from Steel Shade Helmet and 5% cold from Ravenfrost, and only 6 flat MDR, so as I said, very squishy. I love the adrenaline boost. Like, everyone's like, oh, you're crazy and you're stupid and you don't build things right or whatever. So it's fun. Gets the adrenaline going. So we've got the elemental pierces there from Frostburns. Again, I'm not relying on that too much. We're just going with flat out crazy amounts of elemental damage. Faster hit recovery. Said we've gone down a breakpoint now. We were at 86, which was lovely, but now we're down to 52. That's way better. I would pump for that if you can, people. Again, with much better gear and much better slams, it won't be a problem. So Vengeance, we were doing a lot more. But as I said, I've shuffled some gear around, so I know 6k doesn't look like a lot, but you hit really fast. And again, it spreads. There's a lot of chaining and things. So, it's 42% chance to chain. I know it's not up there in the 60s, because it's only as much as you can get from plus skills, because it's 10 to Vengeance from Kingslayer, and then I've only got 4 top. But it does more than enough. It really does. So again, we've got 73 chance to block, not 75, but again, I'm sort of apportioning my stat points all over the place. There's a lot of strength there, as you can see, but if we go to our weapon switch, we're actually using Nages because we don't need Spell Steel's amp, because we don't really want that to override, you know, the Mercenary's lower resist. However, saying that, when it comes to my Valks, if we look at this one, she's got amp damage on striking. So what I like to do when I get into a game is roll the Valks until I get a lower resist on striking, which is really helpful, because if he hasn't cast it from sticks, it's only 12%, they're casting a 15% one. So there's, you know, it's good to have that extras. I mean, if I was rich, he'd have an Infinity Staff, but, you know, my only Infinity of the season's on my Trap Assassin, but, you know, whatever. So, yeah, we have Crushing Blow and Open Wounds, which is tiny and useless, but, you know, against bosses, you can whack them down fairly quickly. Again, Life Leech and Mana Leech, you don't really get any of it because of the lack of physical damage, so don't rely on it. The Mana per Kill's juicy, that works. That keeps you, fairly buoyant down here at 9. Excuse me, especially when it chains and things get blown up. It's really good. That's not too bad. So, and then the Mercenary's stats, he's got, he's not quite hitting that 125, sadly. But again, with better gear, he could be. But yeah, he's, again, his fast hit recovery is a bit, but he hides behind everything else, so it's not really a big deal. Yeah, he's got decent res, survivability and all that jazz. Doing okay. Map-wise, map choices and things like that. Go anywhere, do anything. You do all the damages. The decoys. Now, I have decoy on right click and I have vengeance on left, and I run around and then I teleport in to certain situations, slap, slap, slap. So he's doing magic damage. The decoys are doing physical damage. They're doing lightning and physical. You're doing all the elements, except obviously poison. So I did lie, we're not doing all the damage types. I have a tiny amount of poison, see?
At your service.
Alright, let's check to see if we're all repaired. GG. I'll just throw them in there a second, and we'll just open up a random map. So we jump in, and so yeah, I would teleport in, slap down a couple of decoys, go a couple of bashes there. See, stuff just gets melted. No, we blocked there, and as you can see, it was hella slow. In fact, let's stand here and see if we can get a pop going on. See how slow that was? Can you imagine, like, without any, more blocking, that would have been tragic. So, directing the flow of traffic. That was scary then, so we popped some decoys behind. They immediately turn around and focus elsewhere. So then you can run in and smack down that front line. But before I could even finish my sentence, these bad boys all smack down that front line. I didn't even need to. As you can see, we lost a fair amount of energy shield there, but as long as you keep it topped up, not a problem. So if something's really scary, we just hold back. We pop down some of this. There you go. They're dealing with it. So you're not like 100% melee tank, like I said. You're not very tanky. But so you don't just charge in. But if you're feeling it, you can, as I'm doing now. See, stuff's hitting me. I'm not getting any help, so my mercenary's not that behind the wall. So just keep your mana pool topped up. Just keep popping mana pots every so often. See, slap, slap, slap. Put that over there. Slap what's near you. There you go. They got distracted, and they're all trying to slap the decoy, so I just ran in and started wailing on them. And so on and so forth, everybody. That's it. It's just a fun little build. I can clear, a juiced up tier 1 in about 25 minutes, 20 minutes. Again, if people, it's ridiculous, she's good at 5. I'm like, again, it's an Amazon using vengeance. What do you expect? Have some fun, people. Try and... I say people, I'm talking about that one guy who keeps commenting on my videos. I know the rest of you guys are watching it because you want fun memes. I'm no Chug That Estes, but I'm trying my best. So yeah, that's it really. Like I said, super safety, the radius, as you can see, and that's not even me on my skills switch, the radius for this. Everything is super slow and easy to hit. And then we just run in after that, give everything a slap. See, I blocked it there, and as you can see, it interrupted the flow a fair bit. But you do rinse stuff, as you can see, it's getting melted. Yeah, this video has been long enough. So, thank you for watching. If you're interested in silly little memes builds like this, it's a lot of fun. You can just run around derping and enjoy yourself.